Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
And good afternoon, Inspired listeners, and welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. So great to be back again. I very much look forward to our Wednesdays together and always thankful that you choose to spend your time with us. We have an amazing guest in our show today, back by popular demand. So last week, we were talking about extraterrestrials and beings from other worlds, and today we're going to be bringing our conversation back to life here on Earth with really solid and practical yet powerful tools to help us here in this lifetime. But first, I'm Kim Thalken, founder of my bi-coastal spiritual practice, Love First, where life transformations happen. And my practice is now in the beautiful states of, Richmond, Virginia, and also Encino, California, where the goal is to raise consciousness one soul at a time. And if I can help you to transform your life so that you can heal what needs to be healed and move forward living the life you're meant to live of joy through readings, energy healings, or using the power of your mind with hypnotherapy, please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. I love the work that I do, and I love the clients that I work with. You can find me at lovefirst.info. That's LOVEFIRST.INFO. And with me today and every Wednesdays is my favorite co-host, the intuitive prospector, Mark Lanehart, in the beautiful state of Seattle, Washington. Mark, how goes it in Seattle?
It goes great. Hello, Kim. Hello, inspired listeners. Yes, it is Wisdom Wednesday again. We just want to thank you so much for joining us here for the live show. Welcome back to Mastin, who's going to be coming on here in just a second, but just wanted to say thank you so much for being part of our Inspired Living community. Kim, we are just growing like gangbusters on all of our social media pages and just having a lot of fun, and I hope that we continue to grow as 2017 progresses. And I think the radio show is growing because of the community and soul tribe out there of people looking for inspiration in this world. And so I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of the Inspired Living community. Like Kim said, my name is Mark Lanehart, the Intuitive Prospector. I am live here in Seattle, Washington. And if you want to work with me and do a little spiritual prospecting for your own spiritual gold, whether it's a spiritual hike, a dive, a reading, an event, a workshop, I'd love to have you join me and work with you. You just head over to marklanehart.com. You can internet search The Intuitive Prospector. You can also find me at Best American Psychics or Best Psychic Directory, and I would love to work with you. So, Kim, speaking of our social media pages, because I want to get right into the details of our guest, because this guy is awesome, and we had a really great show last time when he was on the first time, and he's returning back. But if you want to engage with us right now live on social media, head over to our Facebook page, Inspired Living Radio. I will be monitoring any questions posted there. You can also find us over on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Podbean, our other social media pages where you can be found at Google Plus Community under Inspired Living with Mark and Kim, Twitter and Instagram under Inspired For Us. That is the number for us. So we can be found all around the world, and we love doing the show because you can access the show live from any device, anywhere around the world without a username or password. Plus, we have a lot of fun. And it is the month of March, Kim, already, if you can believe that. And it is time once again for our positive affirmation for March, and it's going to tie really nicely with this show. The positive affirmation for this month is, I am now creating my life exactly as I want it. I am now creating my life exactly as I want it, and that is the Inspired Living Radio positive affirmation for the month of March. Let's have a great show. I'm looking forward to this guest. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you for that, Mark. Yeah, it's we talked about this inspired affirmation for the month, and we thought it did tie in really nicely with our guest today, who is Mastin Kipp. We're going to be talking a lot about how to create the life that you want and create a purposeful life filled with passion. So Mastin Kipp is a #1 best-selling author, speaker, and life interventionist for people who are seeking rapid transformation in their lives. Who wants to wait? Let's do it now. He has been featured on the Emmy Award show Super Soul Sunday and recognized as a thought leader for the next generation by Oprah Winfrey. Wow, that's always admirable. Mastin has built a highly successful international personal development company that helps people create rapid change, connect to who they really are, very important, and how to live their lives with passion and purpose. Boy, once you do that, life becomes so meaningful. Through his writing, online courses, in-person seminars, and international retreats, Mastin has worked with over 2 million people in over 100 countries around the world. Oprah recently also named him one of 100 awakened leaders who are using their voices and talent to elevate humanity, alongside other notable teachers like Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, and basically a who's who of the spiritual world there. There's a great teachers that Mastin is in company with there, and we are so happy to have you back. Mastin Kipp, welcome to Inspired Living.
Welcome back, Mark and Kim, great to be back, you guys. So happy to be here. Really, really grateful to be back again. This is going to be a lot of fun. I can feel it already.
Yes, it is.
I love that. Thank you. That's what we always, strive for here, and including a little inspiration, which I know is all of the work that you do. And you have quite a background, Mastin, for those of our listening audience that is not familiar with your background, where kind of what led you to where you are today. That in and of itself is quite inspirational, and I think really important for our listeners to hear. So if you don't mind sharing that with them, a little bit about your background and what got you to where you are today, I think that would be wonderful.
Okay, no problem. I wrote a whole book about it. It's a long story, so I'll give you the Cliff's Notes. What I do today is I really help people. Everyone, no matter who you are, has hidden or unconscious blocks that are preventing you from going to that next level. And so what I do is I'm just my superpower is helping people really discover these blocks that they don't know that they have, and really helping them go to that next level in their life. And the reason why I'm so good at doing that is because I had to do that for myself. I come from deep, addiction past, and pretty much you name it, I was addicted to it for the most part. I was in Los Angeles and in the music business, and just got very much caught up in cocaine and alcohol and drugs and all that type of stuff, and codependent relationships. Hit a significant bottom there. And then just wandered for many years and read all the books from all the people that we all love. And I said, is this stuff true? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it's true, but I'm going to pretend like it is. And started serving other people in the form of saying out daily quotes, and then started a website called The Daily Love, which was sort of an aggregator of personal development voices, and then kind of realized I love teaching, and I have this really there's a lot of stuff I'm not great at. Like, don't ask me to fix your carburetor, but I'm really great at being able to help people clear those and figure out those unconscious blocks, and really great with working with trauma and helping people see it in a new light and getting past it. And I've really just had a passion for that in the last couple of years, really doubled down on that. And I have the real privilege today to be able to make that my full-time work. And it's what I do, and it's my mission. And conversations like this light me up because we get to talk about important, meaningful things and move forward and have a higher level conversation than what we tend to see in the media these days. So I feel really blessed to be able to have these conversations with you guys. It's really exciting stuff.
Oh my gosh. You know, Mastin, you just touched on something. I can't agree with you more when you say than what we see in the media. And in fact, I think I just commented on this in social media myself, because if you just tune into the media on a daily basis, or even social media, it can be very discouraging, because it's very often that they're focusing on what's going wrong in the world. Everything that's going wrong and very little about what's going right. But there is a lot out there that is going right, and people are doing great things with their lives and helping one another, and they're, people out there showing kindness to each other. But unfortunately, that gets missed a lot of times in the reporting, so we're left to swim in these negative thoughts of what is being reported to us.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, the line in the media business is if it bleeds, it leads. Because we have this reptile brain, this monkey mind that's trained to look at what's wrong. That's kind of how we're wired and programmed. But it really didn't become this way until the advent of the 24-hour news channel, where you got to fill 24 hours of time. The news used to be a public service to people, and it was very sort of factually based. And now that every channel, no matter what channel you're on, you live in a different world. Fox is different than CNN. It's a completely different world. And also, like on Facebook and social media, you kind of live in an echo chamber of what you believe. So you don't get exposed to what other people are thinking. So you kind of are, people on different spheres, no matter what you believe, tend to surround themselves with people who believe what they believe and watch things that believe what they believe, and they get those beliefs reinforced. And, as connected as we are digitally today, we have never been more disconnected in just hearing each other, the fundamental communication skills. And if you have to make sure that you have
Mastin, just hold that thought for one moment, because that is our lead-in into our first break. We'll be back in 2 minutes as we continue this conversation with our superstar guest today, Mastin Kipp.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Are you seeking answers to life questions? Would you like to connect to a departed loved one? Are you suffering from pain, stress, or anxiety? Kimberly Thalkin is a tested, certified, and professional psychic, spiritual medium, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Love First, where life transformations happen. Love First services support, guide, and empower individuals by connecting them to their highest potential to live a healthier, joyful, and meaningful life that's filled with purpose. All services can be done by phone, Skype, or in person in Encino, California. Please visit lovefirst.info. That's LOVEFIRST.info for more information.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
and welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our special guest today, Mastin Kipp. So before we went to break, we were talking about sometimes the negativity that we get caught up in the media and social media. And so my hope is that our listeners have a place to come every week to be exposed to new ways of thinking and new ways and new things to think about. And so I know, Mastin, you're really instrumental out there serving humanity in that way.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I think that if you are 100% certain about what you believe, then you're in a really dangerous place. And I think a level of confusion and a curious mind is very powerful. And we were talking about earlier, just with the press, is that we live inside these sort of like these bubbles of some people who believe what we believe. And somehow we've gotten into this blame cycle of if anyone doesn't believe what we believe, then they're the enemy, and anyone who agrees with them even a little bit is the enemy. And that is just not a productive way to have a conversation in a relationship or on the grand scale in politics or in the media at all. And it stems from, I think, this sort of infotainment world that we live in, where we have to keep eyeballs on the screen and pay for 24-hour news that is a profit center versus something that should be a public service.
Yes, that's right, because a lot of what gets reported today is based on what's going to be profitable, I guess you could say. But
that's right.
You talked about addiction as being a big part of your past, and I heard you in an interview that you did describe addiction as searching for God in all the wrong places. And I thought that there was just so much truth in that, just based on even my own experiences with people around me that have suffered from addiction, where I have seen that to be the case too when it comes down to it. But talk to us about your experience in that. How it is you came to see the meaning of addiction in that way?
Sure. Well, I didn't even know that I was an addict until after I got sober.
Oh, okay.
That's how strong the denial was. Yeah. So, but what I would say is upon getting sober from cocaine, and I still have alcohol sporadically, but very rarely. My intention was I want to feel as good off the drugs as I did on the drugs at first, because drugs don't feel good long term, because you build tolerance and resistance and it wrecks your insides. And the more that I started to learn about why I was addicted and the root cause of why that was there, I realized, like, at the end of the day, I'm really looking for love and belonging and connection, and that is something that is sort of a divine. Those are divine attributes, if you will. And you can find that in a group, and you can find that when you exercise. But I think that if you look at, what makes habit change possible, the 12-step program has been studied ad nauseum, and yes, it has flaws, but it's also saved millions of lives. That spiritual component in the 12-step program is something that must be accounted for, because what happens is when you get into a group of people who believe what you believe and believe you can be sober, and you have that form of belief, that higher power sort of idea, whether it's true or not, we'll find out. But the belief in it has completely shifted my life, and it's been documented in the lives of millions of addicts who've gotten sober as well. And that belief that there is grace, that there's a higher order of things, that things are happening for me, not to me, that I am supported by a higher power, has been instrumental in me not just getting sober, but staying sober and leaning on something in times of great disruption in my own life. And so I think that search for God is a search for certainty. It's a search for meaning in what seems like chaos. It's a search for order. It's a search for grasping our own humanity. And I think that when you have that addiction process, you think that the pill or the drug or the person or the work or whatever it is that you're doing is your higher power. And when you sort of find a spiritual higher power, it begins to take the place of that. And you no longer need to go to the thing that you're addicted to for the certainty, but your belief and that connection to a higher power is where you get your certainty from moving forward.
And what about, because I know, which, I see, I I can see the importance of that clearly, just in my own life, is, the connection that I have to the divine. But like, what if somebody is addicted, but then they're not sure what their belief system is about the divine or a higher power, or they're unsure of that to begin with? Because I know that the 12-step program centers around around that a lot. So then how do they work through that?
Sure. A few things. One, no one is 100% sure. So, like, you could be a pastor, a preacher, a saint, a mystic, whatever. None of us know for sure if God exists. It's an educated guess and feeling. And maybe one day we'll prove it through deep quantum physics. But for now, no one knows for sure. What I did was, one, I was ready. If you're not ready, it's not like no one can like bark a higher power onto you. It has to be something that you claim and are ready for. But what I did was I kind of made this deal with God. When I surrendered, I said, look, God, I've kind of lived my life without you in it, and I haven't done that great a job, obviously. So why don't you take it, and if it's not better in a year, I'll take it back. And just like look at it from the perspective of an experiment and just try. And even if you don't have to believe in a higher power for a higher power to work its way into your life. If you make it welcome, and you look at it from a perspective of just having a 365-day experiment, chances are you're going to have a significant life altering moment when you do that, and things will start to work out, and you'll get on that higher power train. And most people, when they have a higher power issue, it's usually because of some type of religious trauma where they think some guy in the sky with a beard who's all knowing and all powerful and all loving, except for he really seems to care about what you do between the sheets and with whom. Everything else is fine, but that's a sin. Is like kind of like judging you and looking down on you. I think that I would revolt against a higher power like that too. But what we're talking about is a ever-present source of love and redemption and connection and synchronicity. It's a very loving presence. It can be called Jesus, Buddha, higher power, tree, stick, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure God's not offended by the name. It's just semantics. But if you connect to a power greater than you, and you do it from a perspective of an experiment, guarantee you in 365 days your life will be better than it is today. Whether you believe it or not, it's not the point.
Oh, that's good stuff. Spiritual awesomeness. Spiritual awesomeness, as we like to say. One truth, many stories to tell when it comes to that.
That's right.
Mastin, thank you for being back on. Thank you for being in service for what you do and the inspiration that you bring to your local community and people around the world. I know that I get inspired by some of the pictures that you post. I know that you just came back from a nice what looked like a very nice, relaxing trip out of country. So I want to have you talk about that. But I'm just curious, for those of us that are in service to others and helping others and being inspirational, where do you find your inspiration? Where do you find your words that you post on a daily basis, or your videos? Is that through meditation? Is that just going within and just, that self-discovery that you're talking about?
It's a great question. Well, I think I was born verbose, first of all. I am a run-on sentence. I will keep talking until you stop me, basically. So I have that as an advantage. I sort of have a level of verbosity, which is not always an attribute. But when it comes to creating content, it's definitely an asset. I think most of my content ideas come from deep listening. I really make it my intention to listen to people when they speak, and I really make it my intention to listen for common patterns. We do a tremendous amount of surveys and data analysis of our tribe. There's lots of ways for people to give me feedback, and there's lots of ways for us to analyze different trends and even innovate on products and stuff like that and create whole new product categories that don't exist. And it really all comes from listening. And if you look at a lot of how communication is structured today online, big data is a really important player in marketing, messaging, and communicating.
Yeah.
People, when they say, hey, were you in my head, it's like, no, I just listen and pay attention and speak about things in a universal way. But, even though I completely disagree with his politics, Donald Trump was from a marketing perspective, someone who did a very good job of listening to his people and articulating ideas back to them in a way that they needed to hear it, and that was fueled by data. And I think that is a big lesson to be learned in listening and really letting people drive your messaging and be responding to what they need. Because I think that when you look at the marketing side of getting a message out there, the more resonance that you have, the more relevant that you're going to be. So while I completely disavow the majority of his politics, I'm very much aligned with the way in which he found and dug up and created his message and put it out into the world through listening. Now, the people he was listening to and what they believe is a different story. And of course, there's a divine spark in all of us, but there's a lot of fear and xenophobia there too. He communicated that message in a very powerful way. So my intention is to use that same process, if you will, for the opposite purpose, if you think, in many ways, to raise people up and to bring people together. Because I think the more that you can listen and the more that you can speak to people in their language with where they are, the more effective a communicator you're going to be.
Yeah, so you're the yin to his yang, right?
I mean, I wouldn't put it that way. I just think that, it's kind of like the Force, right? You have the dark side and the light side. It with space or any communication. NLP, there are people who use NLP to reverse trauma. There's people who use NLP to be a part of the seduction community. So communication is sort of neutral. It's your intention. I mean, that's what law and order is all about. When you're in a judge and a jury, you took a life. It's the difference of intention between whether you go free or not. So I think intention is really everything. And my intention is to be the best communicator I can to inspire, uplift, and help as many people as possible move forward.
Well, hey, brother, I think you're doing a fantastic job, and we're going to go to our second break here. But before we go to break here, just want to let everybody know this is one of Mastin's sayings. Nobody will give you the freedom that you are seeking. It must be earned each and every day through making the courageous choice to face your fear and serve others. Powerful stuff, guys. Stick around. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on Inspired Living Radio with our very special guest, Mastin Kipp.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Have you wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marklanehart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
America's service members and veterans are strong, forged out of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. Sometimes reaching out for help can be the most challenging and worthwhile mission of all. When you recognize something isn't right, make the call to the Veterans Crisis Line or Military Crisis Line. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1.
everybody. Welcome back to Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim here on OMTimes, the voice of consciousness. Our very special guest, Mastin Kipp. If you want to learn more about the great work that Mastin is doing, you can follow him at Twitter at Mastin Kipp, at The Daily Love. You can also follow him on Facebook under the name Mastin Kipp. He's got an upcoming event that we have posted on the Inspired Living Radio page. And if you want to call in and talk with Mastin, Kim, or myself, if you have a question and you're wanting to find your life's purpose and get unstuck, then call into 1-202-570-7057. That is for the United States only. We'd love to have you call in and chat with us. So, Mastin, before the break, I was curious because, believe it or not, we all are human here, and we all look for inspiration, and we do have our bad days. And I know thank you for sharing your journey and your struggles from addiction to, drug use. Where do you find that inspiration? What inspires you? I mean, who are you reading right now? Who's somebody that inspires you and helps you on your path?
Oh man,
I put you on the spot there.
Wow. I mean, there's the one that's like the consistent everyday inspiration, which is love of my life. My partner Jenna, she's my North Star, for sure. I read 2 to 3 books a week.
Is that all?
So what keeps me going is my habits. So, I invested in some exercise equipment at home. So I do cardio in the morning right away. That gets me up. I have a whole routine in the morning. I hit the gym. That keeps me sane. That's kind of my therapy. I think my mastermind, the group that I'm in, keeps me super stable as well. I'm in Jeff Walker's mastermind, and that's an incredible group for support. My friends also. But as far as who I'm reading right now, I am obsessed with Cal Newport, who is the author of Deep Work. Eric Ries, The Lean Startup, Exponential Organizations. Really fascinated by the merging of exponential technologies with human creativity. Really fascinating stuff. And also the Scrum book by Jeff Sutherland. Those 4 books are sort of like front and center for me right now.
Awesome. And tell us about your trip that you just came back from, your retreat, so people can get to know that you do retreats outside of the country.
Sure.
I was following along with your boat ride. And
it's so funny. Yeah, part of my big moonshot, the reason why I do what I do is I'm here to, as much as I can, end trauma in my lifetime. And as much as I can do that, the better. And I think one of the greatest ways to really make progress in your life is to have an immersion experience where you're not just talking to a coach for like an hour a day or an hour a week and just checking in, but you're distracted and you go back into your normal life. I think sometimes taking yourself out of your environment and really just focusing on a business or a book or your purpose or whatever it might be is really powerful. I've had very powerful immersion experiences. So, one of the ways that I work with people is through immersion, and we do it in cool places like Bali and Maui and elsewhere. And I was in Bali for 6 weeks, leading 2 different retreats. One was a 28-day book retreat where you write your book in 28 days. You write it. You don't just learn about it. You write it. And the other one was a 2-week sort of rewiring called Enter the Heart, that you really dive into like subconscious patterns, your purpose, what those invisible blocks are, how to really remove those and move forward. And really using the island as our seminar room, and it's a really powerful process. So that I was there for 6 weeks doing that, and it's a real blessing to be able to work with people, because in those containers, if you've ever been to a retreat or a situation like that, it's a very sacred container. People really share very private, personal details, and you get to really know what's really going on with someone, and you see that deeper issue, and that they connect to that common humanity is a really beautiful thing, and they do it for an immersion period of time, so the amount of progress they can make in 2 weeks is greater than maybe a year or 2 or a decade, one sort of hour at a time. So I love working that way. It's a lot of fun.
I know you have an upcoming retreat, I believe, in April in Maui for spiritual entrepreneurs. Is that correct?
It is. You guys did your homework. Yes, I do.
I did a little studying there.
Because I want to go.
I'm just curious. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Right. So Mastin, what would you say is the number one mistake spiritual entrepreneurs make?
I think there's a cluster of mistakes that kind of all go together. I think the first mistake is thinking they have to do things perfectly. I think that, people today in business are rewarded for failing fast and learning quickly. And people in the spiritual space, for whatever reason, have this perfectionist thing where they have to try to get it perfect and get it done in the biggest version possible, and they don't know about just minimum viable products, which is what's the smallest amount that I can do to learn and create validated learning in my business to make sure that the product that people know that they have the problem I'm trying to solve, that there's actually a problem awareness, and that what can I put out there that would, if you're not embarrassed by your first launch, you waited too long. So I think waiting because of perfectionism, is big, but also that kind of goes with the fear of being seen. A lot of spiritual teachers, especially if you're coming from corporate, are used to a job structure or having a boss tell them what to do, and now they're in their own element and they're not supporting someone else. They are the show. And so it's this kind of being willing to be seen, to go on Facebook Live, to do the things that are necessary to put yourself out there. I think there's a sort of a reluctance to do that, which also kind of stems back to that perfectionist thing. But I think most of the time when I look at people who are in this space, it's also thinking that everything's just going to be manifested. There's this sort of manifesting fairy tale that if I just put it on my vision board, it's going to happen, and they don't know about. The law of attraction is true, but so is the law of hard work, and so is the law of persistence, and so is the law of adding value, and so is the law of making things happen. There's a lot of other laws that happen too. So it's a combination of those things. The fairy tale, the fear of being seen, and the perfectionism thing kind of go together to really keep people stuck.
Yeah, interesting that you say the perfectionism thing too, because I know that I've struggled with that a little bit myself as well, and I know other colleagues out there too who believe that we continuously we've got to take X more classes and workshops and get this certification and that certification before we can get out there and help support other people on their own path. But so it's interesting that you say that, because I hear other people talking about that in this community.
Oh, it's
well.
huge. When I made the transition from the Daily Love blog to my current brand, it took me 18 months to put my website up. And trust me, I know how to put a website up, and I got all the resources and the team and everything, but it was this delay tactic of who am I to do this? And I had to get right with myself on that. And I got the privilege of speaking with Carolyn Mace, and she kind of did a number on me, kind of said get your act together, kid. And it was a great sort of swift butt kicking in only a way that she could do it. And it kind of helped me get some clarity on that. But yeah, I delayed forever on it too. So I'm not sitting here innocent of these either. I included myself in this process for sure.
Well, and I love that. I love that in your descriptions. And as you're talking, you're actually laughing about you can laugh about your past mistakes and what you've learned from them and stuff. And so I think it's really important that we don't have to be ashamed of where we came from. That is. Yeah, right. And so I really appreciate that honesty in you.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, you talk about you help people with goals, and as we're talking about spiritual entrepreneurs getting out there and doing what they need to do, but how can people stay committed to their goals without getting distracted? I know that's a big thing for a lot of people, is that, including myself. In fact, this just came up for me yesterday, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're going to be on the show talking about this. I have all these great ideas, but then it's okay, I need to prioritize and make it happen.
Yeah. So that's a fantastic question. It's a function of a couple things. It's a function of the current environment in which we live. The digital environment, combined with the way that we're wired. So because of the digital environment, if you are not consciously intervening on your digital connections, then your digital life will consistently interrupt you, and your interruptions will be interrupted. So you have to consciously sort of almost like a dam, hold back the digital information. There's a couple great apps that I use. One's called the Freedom app. It's a green app, and it can literally block any website or app for any period of time, whether it's 10 minutes or forever. And I use the Freedom app. I have and you can schedule stuff on there. So, certain things are blocked at certain times. Like everything gets blocked at about 6 p.m. so that I just can't even access the internet and I have to shut down. And so that's one way that I do it. The other way is I'm pretty much an email-free organization these days, so I don't really engage in email unless I absolutely have to. I've moved my whole team over to Slack, and we communicate there, but with boundaries. So I think it's like having that like digital boundary. It's like don't be codependent with digital technologies. So that would be number one. The number two is understand how we're wired. The human nervous system and brain is not designed for follow-through. We're designed to respond to present moment threats and to come up with ideas. And so what happens is you have that aha moment, and if you don't take action on it consistently, we call that spiritual entertainment. But what happens is you have the idea, and people think like this idea or good intention or goal is enough to make it happen. But a good intention and following through on that intention are two completely different skill sets. And the reason why people don't follow through is because they're distracted or they're responding to present moment either threats or perceived threats, and before you know it, it's 6 months later and you forgot that you set the goal and you wonder where the time went. And so what you have to do is essentially what I do in my life and what I do with our clients, and if you look at anyone who achieves at the highest level, they follow through whether they feel like it or not, whether the stars are aligned or not, whether Mercury's in retrograde or not. And so you have to basically design your life in a way where you limit the digital distractions and you make it a threat to your nervous system not to follow through. So an example practically was there was something I was procrastinating on, and I set my deadline, and if I didn't finish that, then I had to donate $1,000 to Donald Trump. And myself and my entire staff was on me making sure that we finished on time. And so that's what I mean. Like it became a threat not to finish. And so if you can make your good intentions squeak, if you will, or if you can make them be threatening not to follow through on, then you can use that monkey mind of yours for good use.
Yeah, it's all about having some control over the mind. It's such a powerful thing. And on that note, we're going to go to our last and final break already. The time just flies by here. But we'll be back in 2 minutes. And stay with us as we continue our conversation with Mastin Kipp.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Join me, Tammy Adams, intuitive life coach and spiritual healer, for my new show, Karma Talk. Learn how to get rid of your karma so that you can start living the life you are meant to live. I am not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Join me on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Karma Talks on OMTime Radio.
I am Fidel Nsombo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our special guest today, Mastin Kipp. So, Mastin, we want to thank you so much for being with us today. We still do have some time in our show, but I want to make sure that our listeners know where to follow you and find you and learn more about all of the wonderful work that you're doing out there. So your website is mastinkipp.com. It's all on Facebook. You are on Twitter at Mastin Kipp and at The Daily Love. And you also have a great Facebook page as well, and Instagram at Mastin Kipp. So those are all the great places that you can find Mastin, all the work he's doing, and the events that you have coming up. Now, Mark, do you have any events coming up that you want to share with our guests? I'm sorry, our listeners.
No, not for this month. I've actually taken this month off. I'm getting busy next month where I'm having an event in April and then traveling to Boston in May and down to Denver, Colorado, and Denver for some spiritual events. But I'm actually going to be heading on vacation next week. So you're going to have a solo show next week. Going to Vegas.
I know.
Ooh.
I know. I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to spend that time. But we're going to miss you, Mark. We always do when you're gone. And I just want to remind our listeners, too, that I will be doing some readings at the fair, the psychic fair at the Edgar Cayce Association for Research and Enlightenment, and that'll be on Saturday, April 1st in Virginia Beach, so you could find me there. So, Mastin, thank you again for being with us. Now, talk to us, one very important topic that you help people with is how to find their purpose. How do you help people find their purpose? And I think, Mark, you would agree in the work that we do, there's so many people that are in need of better understanding what that purpose is, right?
Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think purpose is, aside from being born, the most important thing you'll ever do. And purpose is really, I just wrote a book on it, which is coming out in the fall. But to really articulate the thought clearly, it required 50,000 words or 60,000 words. But if I had to summarize it, essentially every goal that we set or everything that we want to achieve in life, the reason why we set goals is because of the emotional payoff that they bring us. And so we have to really look at living a life where the goal that we're going for and the way in which we achieve the goal are both enjoyable, that put us in sort of a flow state where time just flies by, and we attach ourselves to an idea that's larger than us, but at the same time making sure that we put ourselves first. So it's a sort of this paradoxical idea of being all about yourself and taking care of yourself while being all about everybody else. And most people tend to swing back and forth and either only be about others or only be about themselves, a sort of classic codependent narcissistic entanglement. And what purpose is really all about is figuring out the way that you want to feel specifically and how, the goals that you set can help you feel that way. Achieving those goals can help you feel that way, and you can be of service to an idea larger than you while taking really great care of yourself and figuring out what you need. That really sort of helps you line up with your core, with, you could call it your soul, with your purpose, with your mission, with God's will in your life, whatever you want to call it. I think we have an emotional guidance system that guides us. And when you get into that flow state in that zone, I think that's really sort of helping you be the most useful that you can be. And when you feel useful, that's when you have a sense of purpose. But you have to understand, who you are as a soul and as a being to make sure that you're, using your machinery properly. And most people are not doing that. So I basically help people essentially, if I could bottom line it, to go from being emotionally in debt to emotionally wealthy most of the time. And when you do that, you find your purpose.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just, again, if you guys want to check out Mastin's Facebook page, you can get all of his inspirational posts. Do you call them something specific with all of your inspirational posts? Because I see them all the time. You've got a whole video series out there.
Yeah, quote cards and videos. We just try to do as much quote cards and videos. Yeah, try to put out as much positive energy as we can, and people like those quote cards, so we put them out there. Yeah, and just for the inspired listening community out there all around the world, just some of the ones that really stand out to me, because like I said, I follow your work, and I think you're doing a tremendous job in helping in serving the conscious community, our planet. But the two that I really enjoyed is when you take a step towards your soul, the life you're meant to be living takes a massive leap towards you. I found that to be true with my own path, my own life, the shakening that causes that awakening, as we say. And the other one is the answers you seek are within you. And a lot of times, exactly what you're saying is, people look for the answers outside in what society says, media, newspapers, what have you, other people, pundits. But, the answers that you are searching for, really do lie within. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. The truth of your soul is a whisper, as you say. Yes. Amen. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that ultimately everyone around us can be a mentor or a guide, but the teacher that you're looking for is inside you. And pretty much everything I do at the end of the day is trying to get someone lined back up with their own wisdom,
Yeah, and I mean, I've just within this hour, I've already picked up 2 things I'm going to check out. The Freedom app, because I'm finding as my spiritual practice grows here in Seattle, I'm trying to find my own time for myself, and whether it's email. So you said it was the Freedom app. That's kind of a blocker for all.
Yeah, it's called Freedom.
Social
the
media.
website is just Freedom. Freedom. FREEDOM.2. Freedom.2 is the website, and you can go in the App Store and download it. I don't have any affiliate relationship with them. I love them. It's fantastic. I mean, it just blocks everything.
And the other one was Slack.
And I also
as far as
block
email?
all my yeah, exactly. It can block everything. And I also use it to block. There's a couple websites that whenever I get like that sweet tooth, because I'm working on continuing my weight loss journey. I block those websites and apps, so I can't order bad food either. It's just like fantastic.
Oh, it's like
instant willpower,
Yeah, I'll definitely check those out. But you got to love technology, just how it does distract us, but there are certain things that enables us to make our life more enriched and connected. And so thank you for those. I will definitely check those out. And one of these days, hopefully I'll get to meet you here in person versus over the radio waves. I know this is your second time returning, and I'd love to have you back to talk about your new book. When is the new book coming out?
It comes out September 12th, which is very exciting. 12th. So it's called Claim Your Power. And we just settled on a subtitle with the publisher, I think, yesterday. Which is pretty awesome. So I'm very excited about that.
Congratulations.
Let me see if I have it here. It's a very
How many books have you written?
So the subtitle is called. This is my second book. It's called Claim Your Power, and the subtitle is hot off the press. It's a 40-day journey to discover the hidden blocks that keep you stuck and finally thrive in your life's unique purpose. So that's basically everything that I do as a coach in a book.
I love that. And I definitely, for all the writers out there in the inspired listening community, check out Mastin's Retreat. I think that's fantastic that you do you say it was 28 days to write your book?
It is. It's a deep dive. It's a serious thing.
Yeah. Well, I may actually have to come down and do that because I think I'm working on 2 years trying to write my book in the writer's block, and I just need some focus on that so I can get my message out there. For mine's a little bit different than yours from the addiction. Mine's more on the personal loss and tragedy of having lost family members, but still the same same story, just a different story. So check out Mastin's work, check out his events, head to his Facebook page. If you're trying to write a book, then maybe that's that 28 days of getting down there and just digging in and writing your book in 28 days. I think that's fantastic. Now, we can't I'd love to have you back on the show, Mastin, because we're just getting ready to close the show here. But we can't have you on in September because I'm going to actually be in Italy on a tour for the month of September, so we'll have to figure out maybe October.
So bad for you. I feel very bad for you.
I know.
Well, I'll still be holding down the fort, Mark. And now listen, with that Freedom app, don't you go blocking me, okay?
All right. Oh, this is good stuff.
Mastin, we did have a question come in from one of our listeners, Mastin, who had asked, and we just have like 4 minutes left, but who had asked about how they can go about feeling like they are enough. They constantly are feeling like they have to do more, be more, and that what they are doing and who they are feels like it's ever enough.
Sure. So my heart goes out to this person, whoever this is. A couple things. One, that is a very common human experience. I think all of us have some version or feeling of that way consistently. So that person is definitely not alone in that feeling. And what I would say is that I'd probably stop hanging out with the people that produce that feeling. So it might be a mom or a dad or a partner. It might be good to kind of set some boundaries there. And, I think that there's a truth to not feeling like we're enough. If you can imagine a raindrop for a moment, not feeling enough to be a wave, well, that's true. You got to connect to a power greater than you. And when you do that, I think that you don't have to be enough because that power is there with you. And the raindrop, I like to look at the sort of the visualization of the raindrop that joins the ocean can then become the wave. But it can't be a wave on its own. So the sense of not being enough comes from hanging out with people who are probably putting you down. I mean, you internalize that and believe it about yourself. So I'd cut some boundaries with those folks. And then I would really focus on a connection with your higher power and recognizing that you don't have to do it all by yourself, and that, when you are guided by that higher power, that you are more than enough. And from the eyes and the perspective of that higher power, you are already loved. There's nothing that you have to do to prove your worth other than, get those negative influences out of your life so that you can, be surrounded by people who support you and lift you up and will help you, speak into the success of your future.
Nice. Cut those cords. So I think.
Yes.
I think Kim, we leave it with the words of Mastin Kipp as the show's about to close out here. Don't let the outer world become stronger than your inner world. You are powerful. You are strong. Stand in your power. And that is by Mastin Kipp. Good stuff. So again, thanks, Mastin, for being on the show. Love to have you come back.
Thank you, Mastin.
And Kim.
Guys, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. This has been a lot of fun, and time just flies when I'm talking with you. So thank you so much.
It does.
Best of luck on your travels.
Oh, thank you so much. Same to you, my friend.
Too,
and
Kim, have fun in Maui.
Kim, you're on next week. I'm looking forward to a great show on what you're going to come up with. Any thoughts on the show you're having?
Me too, Mark. We'll see. We'll see where I'm
All right, inspired listeners.
Okay.
You have to tune in next week. Kim is riding solo. Until then, be kind.
Until then, namaste.
Namaste.